This is the TI-30 calculator, and we're going to be finding the mean and standard deviation from a data set. So my calculator happens to be off, and the first thing I need to do is go ahead and turn it on. And on my screen I have a bunch of data up here, so I'm just going to, let's see if I can clear that. Okay, so I don't really care about what modes it's in. So the first thing I want to do is enter a set of data. So as you scroll down, you'll see second row from the top, third button from the left is the word data. And when I click on that, I see a data list. Now the problem is there's already numbers in that list, which I don't want. This list happens to only have a couple in it, it looks like, so it wouldn't be too hard to delete them. But if there was 20 numbers, I don't want to take the time to delete everything. So if I hit the data button again, I get the option to clear all of the lists. In this case, my data is only in list 1. I only want to use list 1. And since list 1 is highlighted, I can go ahead and hit enter. And I'm back to list 1 where all the data has been deleted for me. So as I go to enter the numbers, all I need to do is click on the first number in my list. Let's say it's 7. And notice the 7's just floating, if you want to use that phrase, down here at the term, and I've got my cursor blinking, but I don't see 7 up top. So when I hit the 7, I do need to hit enter for the 7 to be stored in the list, and follow that process for the rest of the numbers in my list. So coming over here, if my second item was 10, I need to be sure to hit enter when I'm done with 10. I now see the 10 in my list, and I see that we're waiting for a third number. So let's go ahead and do 15, enter for our third number, and 18, enter for our fourth number. I can see the 15 and the 18 in the list. That first number 7 has scrolled up to the top. You can't see it, but that's okay, because down here I know that I'm waiting for a fifth number, and since I entered 4, that is what it should look like. Now I'm ready to do some calculations. You'll notice right above the data button in green, it says stat. So since the second button is in green, I need to hit second and data to get stat or statistical mode. And we're only going to be doing one variable data right now. So since stats and 1 is highlighted, I'm where I'm at or where I need to be. So I can hit enter to start working with that information. Now all of our data is stored in list 1, so I'm okay. Otherwise I could have arrowed over and hit enter. All of my numbers have a frequency of 1, meaning each of those numbers only shows up once. And I'm ready to calculate that data. So now I can hit enter. So the first thing you'll notice on line 1 is n equals 4, because I had 4 numbers. Always good to double check you didn't get extra numbers or miss something. I don't need to arrow down to see this, but item number 2, x bar, which is the symbol for the sample mean, gives me 12.5. So the sample average is 12.5, and the population mean of mu is the same as the sample mean. So x bar and mu, the sample and population mean, are both 12.5. As I arrow down one more, I see S sub x. This is the sample standard deviation, and I've got 4.9328, etc. Now if you want the sample variance, I need that number squared. And I don't want to write that whole number down, so I can type it back into my calculator so I can square it. So what I can do is, while the 3 is highlighted, I can go ahead and hit the enter button, and this is going to put S sub x, my sample standard deviation, into my list. It's going to make it the 5th number, which I won't want it to be the 5th number, but I can delete it later. What I want right now is that number squared. So if I go to the squared button on the calculator and scroll up, you can see that we're about to square the sample standard deviation, but it's not actually squared yet. I do need to hit enter to physically square it. And 24.333, etc. is the sample standard deviation. And if you needed more digits, you can actually arrow up and see all of the digits on the line below. But now what if I want to use that list and I don't want that 24 number in there? I'm going to have to go ahead and delete it from my list, waiting for a new 5th number, which I don't want. Now instead of a sample standard deviation, had those 4 numbers consisted of an entire population, Then I need to go back into my stat mode, go back into one variable. I'm going to arrow down to calculate that. And if I keep coming down here, and notice that down arrow after the 3, I get sigma sub x, the population standard deviation, which is a smaller number, and it always will be, 4.272, etc. Or if I wanted my population variance, I go through the same process I did for the sample standard deviation variance. I hit enter to put that into my list. I need to square that and actually hit enter to get the squared value. And I see 18.25, and I can scroll up to see that it actually was completely 18.25 for the population standard deviation. And that's it.